Hello friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. We start our video with a story in which our OP was an army officer and was forced to maliciously comply with his superiors. Here we go. Assistant officers need to have their own office. Short story from when I used to be an army officer. My first position was in a field unit, but I pissed off the correct number of people to be transferred to a desk job to wait until my contract expired. Well, it turns out it wasn't so bad. The head of unit was an easygoing lieutenant colonel who let me come in late and leave later to avoid the traffic rushes. Since the base was in the center of a large city, the office itself was located in a high-rise building on the 8th floor. I was ranked lieutenant at the time, and my CO was a major. She was also very pregnant with her second child, and my primary objective was to allow her to finish her workday early to go home to her family. Attending evening meetings in her stead and proofreading her documents were my main responsibilities. Since we worked in tandem, she had me put an additional computer in her office, even though it was technically a single-person office, which really helped streamline the work. The good times were over in a flash, though, since the head of unit was promoted elsewhere and my CO left for maternity leave. The new head of unit was a boastful a-hole who cared so much about status, and the CO appointed above me was a good match for him. He decided it was unseemly that the assistant officers, me and another guy in the same position, used the precious real estate in the office high-rise. He found another room for us, a small cell in the unit's war room. We were allowed to use it as long as there were no emergencies. It was also in another building, about 10 minutes walk from his office and inside a concrete bunker at floor 3. Naturally, there was no cell phone reception down there. You wanted to separate the assistant officers? Well, we're separate now, and good luck contacting us. No cell phone reception meant we could simply not pick up the landline if we didn't feel like it. Oh, you called earlier? Must have been in the bathroom, boss. My CO also heaped on a bunch of new responsibilities that I was not trained for in any way, so I played really dumb and asked for help with everything. She would often get frustrated and order me to come to her office, which after the walk, security clearances, and elevators would take a good 20 minutes. I didn't have a workstation in her office anymore, though, so I had to walk the whole way back to implement the changes she wanted. Rinse and repeat. Naturally, the workload fell much more heavily on the COs now, the unit's reputation dropped, and we didn't mind lazing away the days until that sweet discharge date came. Bonus MC? The workstation from before was still located in the 8th floor office, but since it wasn't my main workstation anymore, I kept my files on the computer downstairs. I knew perfectly well how to create a shared folder to remote access them, but my CO didn't and never asked me if I could. And our second story. A much-deserved break. Background. I work nights at a small chain grocery store near me. I have a full-time job during the day and head over to this retail job at night and work 6 to 10 p.m. as a cashier. Most weeknights, it's extremely slow. I'm talking maybe 2 to 3 customers per hour after 8 p.m., and we're told that as long as there's no customers around or waiting to be cashed out, you can be on your phone. We always stay close to monitor our lanes and usually will notice anyone walking down and immediately assist them regardless. So a typical Wednesday night. It's about 8:45 p.m. and there's only a few customers walking around the store. We have 3 cashiers, 2 female, 1 male, me included, a senior cashier, female, and a customer service manager, also female, on the front, and the stocking staff, who are mostly male, throughout the store restocking the shelves. Most of the time, we don't stand behind our registers waiting for people to walk up. We kind of group up together and chat or lean up against one of the racks and do stuff on our phones. In this particular scenario, the only male front-end employee was on self-check and was meticulously using scissors to trim the edges of ripped-out coupons. The dude's got odd hobbies. I don't judge. While the remaining staff, all female, were either chatting or on their phones. I was reading a book on my phone. All of a sudden, one of the store managers, Ted, walks over to where most of us are congregated and asks us to come near him. The conversation goes like this. Ted: "Hey guys, we just got a complaint. The customer said that she's tired of coming in here at night and seeing all the women on their phones and screwing around while all the men do the work. She said that all the female employees ignored her when she had a question and that they should be put to work while the men get to take a break. I explained the store policy about downtime, but she apparently has only seen the female employees on their phones and claimed it's not a fair policy and should be changed to include all male employees." Me, flabbergasted. What the hell is she talking about? We were told that we're allowed to have our phones out if there's no people, and nobody's come up and asked us anything. Most of the store staff aside from the front end is male, so... Ted, I know, but can you kind of be discreet? I begin to ask who she is, but he cuts me off. I'm not telling you who she is. She wanted to remain anonymous. Most of us roll our eyes, but nod at him. You could tell he didn't give a rat's patootie about what she had to say. Now, while Ted didn't tell us who this complaining customer was, there was only 2 people in the store at this time, and one was a guy. So, process of elimination, sure enough, 15 minutes later, Karen struts her way down my lane with her nose in the air and a satisfied smirk on her lips, dropping all her groceries on the belt. I give her the customer service voice and fake smile, but I keep seeing her side-eye my phone, where it's sitting on the counter to my right, where the receipt printer sits. I cash her out, she snatches the receipt and stomps out, not saying a word but making sure to shoot my other female co-workers dirty looks as she leaves. She's a repeat customer. I've seen her in there quite a few times during my shifts at night, and I recognize her as the same woman who consistently complains about only female staff, which was confirmed by every female worker I asked after this happened. Almost every woman that works on the store floor, me included, has had at least one nasty run-in with her. So I turn to my fellow employees and a grin spreads on my face. It's on. Fast forward about a week later. Monday night, I'm working my normal 6 to 10 shift, but this time it's me, 2 male cashiers, a female senior cashier, and a male front-end manager. All of the stalkers are male that night and are in on what I've been planning and waiting to execute. I look up at around 9 p.m. and I see none other than Karen strutting into the front of the store. It's go time. The front-end manager hops on the walkie-talkie to all the stalking crew, telling them that Special K is in the store. Immediately, all the stalkers drop whatever they're doing and pull out their phones, leaning against the shelves while they play around. Even the one male employee at the deli got his phone out, while his female coworker was the only one helping customers. It takes her a good 20 minutes to make her way through the store. Later, I found out that she walked through almost every aisle and saw 6 out of 7 stock guys on their phones, including the deli, who all ignored her. The second she rounds the corner to come up to the front with her purchases, me and the senior female cashier both get to work, heads down, and cleaning registers, neighboring ones that are open, and trying not to laugh, while the 3 male employees stand in a circle on their phones. Karen walks down one of the lanes and drops her stuff, but none of my male associates pay her any attention. She clears her throat and turns to Savannah, my coworker, who's cleaning the lane next to the one she's standing at, and I can hear her clear as day. Karen, "Excuse me, can someone ring up my items?" Savannah, in her most exaggerated customer service voice, "I'm so sorry, miss. I'm cleaning like I'm supposed to. One of the guys is on that register." She points to the group of male employees who all look up from their phones and blink at her. Eric, the brave one of the group and who just so happens to be on that register, just smiles at her and says, "I'll be right there. We're taking a much-deserved break," and looks back down at his phone. This woman starts stammering and ranting about how this is unacceptable, that the men in this store have always been so helpful. She demands to see a manager who also happens to be female that night, and in our plan, Nick, the customer service manager, tells her with a straight face that Emily is currently unloading one of the trucks in the back and can't leave the merchandise, but he'd be glad to provide her the customer service number if she'd like to make a complaint. She accepts that and hands her one of the business cards with the number on it. I give them the cutoff signal and the charade ends, and Eric walks over and begins cashing her out. The same bright smile on his face. Karen's grumbling under her breath about how abnormally rude the employees have been. When Eric hands her the receipt, he looks her dead in the eyes and goes for the kill shot. "Well, ma'am, we're just making sure that all of the men get their deserved breaks while the ladies do the work." Her face turns red and her expression drops as she quickly grabs her bags and rushes out of the store. I haven't seen her since, and she never called the customer service number to complain. And our next story. They're angry because I ruined the popular neighborhood path. I recently bought a home on a dead-end street. My home's at the entrance to the street, but the yard/property itself is on the larger side, and the old owners used to let people walk through the yard to reach the connecting street. Now, I'm not a bah humbug sort of guy. I like having neighbors, and I'll say hello, wave, make small talk, etc. However, I also like my privacy and space, and I'm a big lawn sort of guy, So I've started personalizing it and have asked numerous people not to cut through my yard. I'm in the process of having a large privacy fence installed around my property to prevent it from happening. Now, if I had many acres and someone was walking along the edge, I wouldn't care, but this is 20 feet from my home, and I feel uncomfortable having so many people go through my yard, and I don't want to leave my curtains closed 24/7. It also wore a path in the yard, which is unsightly, and I was hoping to set up my lawn ornaments, do some landscaping, etc., which wouldn't be possible with strangers coming through. Not letting them use my yard adds maybe 2 to 3 extra minutes to their walk. A few neighbors have expressed their complaints and feel I'm being unfair. I've gotten a lot of looks and whispers as well, in particular a family with like 6 kids who used to use the yard are very rude now. I've never been rude or hostile, just asked they don't use the shortcut, and am now putting up the fence. And our last story. You're too old to play video games. Give your console to my son. So for context, my car had broken down and was in the repair shop. Of course, I still needed to get to my job, so I took the monorail until my car was eventually fixed. It took about 3 days for my car to be fixed. The first 2 days weren't so bad, but on the third day, dear God, I was fuming. I was getting on the train to go home. It had been something of a long day for me, and frankly, I was ready to sit back and relax. I bought my PS Vita, yes, I'm one of the weird ones, and my iPhone and earbuds. I generally kept one ear open since I want to know if anyone's talking to me. As I take my seat, a kid and his mom step on board and take a seat next to me. The kid sits next to me and his mom right next to him. I pull out my headphones, then pull out my Vita. I start playing Minecraft and sat back while listening to my music. It only took a few seconds for me to notice the kid staring at my Vita screen. It's obvious he didn't bring anything with him and was just watching out of sheer boredom. I figure I have my music and might as well get my karma points for the day. I hand the Vita over to him, and he lights up at having something to do on the ride. I sit back with my music and daydream until the ride is over. Eventually, it's my stop, so I stand up to leave. The kid looks up and sees I'm leaving, so I extend my arm out so I can have my Vita back. Apparently, this upset the EP, and she spoke up. EP, what are you doing? I'm confused at her question as it's my Vita, and not only that, Vitas are not cheap. Me, I'm taking back my Vita? EP, why? Me, because it's mine. EP, so? You already have a phone. My kid has to sit here every day with nothing to do. The least he deserves is your game. Me, lady, I paid for that. It's mine. And while I'm sure you have a good kid, I spent a lot of money on that. The memory card and the games on there. At this point, the kid starts to give back the handheld. It's obvious he's trying to end this situation early by just handing it back, but his mom swats his hand and pushes the Vita back towards him. EP, you're an adult man. You're too old to be playing video games. Me, gaming is my hobby. It's very common nowadays. My age has nothing to do with this. The fact it's my property is what we're talking about. EP, it's not my fault parents nowadays are raising grown-up children. You're too old to be playing games. End of story. The kid at this point, I guess, felt guilty that his mom was holding my Vita hostage and quickly extended it out to me a second time. I quickly grabbed it before his mom could swat his hand away and made a run for it. I could hear the mom screaming something behind me, pretty sure she was calling me a thief. I never rode the train again after that. Thank God, too. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.